So I think that one of the biggest changes to my art practice since the pandemic started would have to be the way that I am extending my art practice beyond myself and my art. Because now that I'm home on my homelands and like in nature and around my family, it feels like my art practice is extending to my connection with the land. And I've always had that connection since I was young, and I've always been able to connect spiritually, I guess is the right word for it. But I don't know, there's something different about being home. There's something different about being able to just like go out in the bush with my dad, who's a medicine man, and like learn about plants and what they're used for and picking medicines. And I spend my mornings like going for bike rides and walks and spending time with the water and having breakfast at the river and going at a slower pace and really trying to take care of myself and my spirit and my mental health. And I feel like it's informing my art in this really interesting way. Like I haven't really changed my process or like how I make art, but the way that I'm interacting with life and creation outside of being here in the studio producing stuff is just like so good. Like my mental health is the best that it's been in a good solid decade. For myself personally, and I would never speak for anybody else, for myself personally, this slower pace has like totally changed my life. I feel like I'm shape-shifting into a stronger version of myself, and hopefully I can use my newfound rootedness and happiness to kind of help other people who need it. At certain points, I feel like I get a little bit emotional about where I'm at and the fact that I get to work in this really lovely space, and the fact that I got to collaborate with my family and my community to make something like this. That's where my heart is. Do you know what I mean? Coming home and working with community and family to do this really taught me that love is abundant in my life, and learning about the many forms that love takes place. And love in itself is like such a vast concept, and I learned a lot about that this summer. And so this studio of mine, full of love. And my name for my studio is the Mothership. So a lot of my art practice prior to the pandemic actually was like murals and street art and stuff. So I'm kind of missing that, but at the same time I did like 18 murals in 1 year, like 2 years ago, and I'm still tired from that. But I still use spray paint on like smaller canvases, but mostly I prefer to use acrylic. And one of my favorite brands is these Amsterdam paints. You can get them at Curry's, I'm pretty sure. Curry's and Above Ground, probably. I got all sorts of goodies in here. Got lots of like hides in case I ever decide to do something like that. I have jingles. I don't know how to make regalia, but I always pick stuff up when I'm at powwows, and even if I don't end up using it, I'll often gift it to people who come through who like need stuff. Got like some really gorgeous furs. The main materials that I enjoy using are these Molotow paint markers, and this is like a few years of like collecting them because they're quite expensive, but I love the fact that they're acrylic paint in this like really amazing format that helps you get good line work and detail. And I feel like I'm always kind of blurring the line between illustration and painting, and these are like perfect for my art practice, both as a muralist and like just as a painter as well. So I've got this self-portrait of mine hung up because I feel like it's one of my favorite works that I've ever done. It's about reestablishing our connection to the land and our bodies and how those two things are intrinsically connected. It's also about how our communities are reconnecting to culture and community love and surviving and thriving after something like residential schools and genocide. And it's just about all of that reconnection that's happening, and also how we're still doing that despite all of the pollution and land degradation and continued colonization that's happening. And this is a commission piece that I'm working on at the moment. It's a portrait for a young woman in my community that I met during my studio opening, and her stepmom commissioned this for a Christmas present because her and I really, like me and her stepdaughter, really connected. And I remember she told me after she went home from coming to see my studio that she immediately like started making art and was getting all excited about it. So this piece is kind of emotional for me because I care about the youth and the young people so much. So I'm so excited that I'm able to do this for her, and I hope that it makes her feel as good as it's making me feel.